All right, welcome to episode 3 of Structureless Conversation. I'm your host, Zach, joined by a very special guest. Steezy A Smith is in the building with us today. Start off with just a little introduction of yourself.
Man, so as you guys heard from the man himself, I go by Steezy A Smith, but you're probably wondering, is that my real name? No, it's not. Calvin Domingo. And just a little background story. When I was in high school, they used to call me Cal Steezy. And so come my senior year, you know, people were looking for kind of a shortened version of Cal Steezy. And so people came up with Steezy. And so I started, you know, going around getting called Steezy. And then from there, I always knew I was going to work in sports, right? And so Stephen A. Smith is a guy that I look at. He's at the top of that sports journalism / sports 100%. Media throne. And so for me, I intend on you know, taking his spot in that throne, respectfully. Yeah. And so I figured, given his name, which is synonymous with sports, Stephen A. Smith, why not combine Stephen A. Smith and then my nickname, Steezy, and then I came up with Steezy A. Smith. Big fan of the Seahawks. I wasn't born here in Seattle. I was raised here in Seattle.
Okay.
I was born in Hawaii.
Oh, nice. Okay. So I'm Pacific Islander too. My family's from Guam.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah,
let's
tomorrow.
go. Tomorrow. Do you speak it?
Yeah, not well. I can understand it though, and that's because my grandparents used to talk all this shit, so I'd have to like understand it so I could tell what they were talking about. You know,
I don't know what it is, but when it comes to other langulanguages, it's always like the bad words.
Yeah,
right.
For
like
sure.
the cussing and the swearing that you know you learn first.
Yeah,
and, that's for me with these other languages. But like I was saying, I was born in Hawaii, raised in Seattle all my life. Big Seahawks fan, and I'm a big Miami Heat fan.
Okay,
and I just love sports all around.
You got to be having a pretty sad day then.
Yeah. Damian Lillard got traded to not the Heat, but the Milwaukee Bucks.
I know, crazy.
I'm a big fan of Giannis, though.
Yeah.
So I'm not tripping too hard. If it was in Miami, Milwaukee's a cool constellation, I guess.
I think you guys got a dark horse chance of getting Drew.
Yeah, I think so, too. I think there was a report that came out that Miami's interested in pursuing a Drew.
Yeah.
And I think going back to that word, he'd also be a great consolation prize for Miami Heat.
Him and Jimmy, that defense would be pretty crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and doubt. Bam. How could you forget Bam?
Too.
Yeah.
Come on. That's another big three right there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. All right, man. Well, I'm going to start with like a rapid fire question just to kind of get to know you. So I'm only looking for one word answers on these.
For sure.
And then if we need to dive deeper into some of these, we can go throughout the episode. So what was your favorite Seahawks moment ever?
Ooh, I'm going to have to say the Beast Quake.
That's a good one. Favorite sports moment ever?
Ooh, I'm going to say definitely Super Bowl 48.
Okay.
Super Bowl 48.
Another good answer. Player you idolized growing up?
I'm going to have to say Kobe Bryant.
Okay. I love that one.
Yeah,
Rest in peace, Kobe.
Rest in peace.
That was my favorite basketball player. Mm-hmm. Broadcaster you emulate your style around. I know you mentioned Stephen A. Smith a little bit earlier, but...
Stephen A. Smith for sure. I think somebody else. I really like Chris Broussard. You know, I think Chris Broussard. Nobody talks about him, but I think he's just real smooth. I think he's intelligent, and he doesn't get enough credit.
He does. Him and his sources.
Yeah, right.
I love it. Greatest Seattle athlete.
Ooh, of all time, I know
this is hard.
With Sue Bird.
That's a really good answer.
Sue
actually,
Bird.
She would probably be mine too.
Mm-hmm. Hey, respect is due. Shoot.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, one of the most decorated champions of all time in any sport.
Sport.
Most used play in Madden.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to say four verticals.
Okay, mine's
four verticals. Sweep. Okay, the jet sweep. I like that.
You know, do a little trickery. That. Yeah, nothing too crazy. Best sports movie of all time.
Ooh, man, so much to choose from. I think it's going to sound kind of surprising, but I'm going to go with The Blind Side.
Okay. Even with all the controversy that's going on lately?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Favorite trade of all time? Speaking after the Damian stuff.
I'm going to have to say, because I'm a big Miami Heat fan, like I talked about earlier. And I was just a kid, but this was arguably one of the biggest moves that led to their first championship in history. I'm going to say Miami trading for Shaq.
That was pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, coming off the heels of the Lakers stuff, him and D-Wade. That was a nice team.
Great team.
Yeah, love that.
Great team.
Best stadium food.
Stadium food.
Maybe not best, but go-to.
Go-to? I guess it got to be Lumen Fields food then.
Okay. Any particular thing?
I'm there the most. Nothing in particular, though. Okay. I feel like all stadium food's kind of the same. But, you know, go-to, I'm there a lot. So.
You don't like the grasshoppers at the Mariners?
I don't think I've actually had that.
All right. I don't know.
Actual grasshoppers?
Yeah. They put like lemon on them and stuff.
I'm cool.
Favorite field, though, this wasn't in my my questions, but out of all the Seattle stadiums, over all time, what
All
would you say your favorite
time.
one was?
See, it's crazy because growing up as a kid, I didn't really, attend games in person.
Okay.
It was really when I grew up and when I really started getting into this field, when I started to visit and actually attend, different stadiums and events and whatnot. So that being said, I'm probably gonna have to go with, I guess, Lumen. I mean, it's kind of a basic answer, but Lumen Field.
Yeah. That's a good answer, though. I mean, the Kingdom, but I was really young, so I don't really remember too much of the Kingdom. But I would say that at least some of my more fond memories of sports were from the Kingdom.
Okay, for sure.
And it wasn't just sports. They had what's it called with the Gravedigger?
Man, I couldn't even tell you.
Monster Truck Rally.
Oh,
Yeah.
I wouldn't know.
Favorite era of Seahawks jerseys?
Ooh, I'm gonna have to go with I guess our jerseys now. I mean,
Okay.
I'm a product of the new school stuff, so I'm gonna have to go with that.
Okay. Favorite current Seahawk player?
Current Seahawks player, I got a lot. I think right now though, I probably gotta go with DK.
Okay, let's go. I'm a solid pick. Yeah. And then just one word on this. Actually, you can say a couple words on this. Do you think that traditional sports media is a dying art?
No.
Okay, we'll elaborate on that a little bit later. So let's talk about kind of your online presence. So what made you want to be a sportscaster? I know you mentioned when you were in high school that was something you were aiming towards.
So all my life, just like a lot of kids, you grow up wanting to be a professional athlete. And I've always had a passion for sports, playing it, watching it, talking about it, playing video games and whatnot, trading the cards, everything, you name it. And when I realized that I wasn't going to be playing professional basketball nor football, I told myself, well, I still want to stick to sports, somehow, some way. And so if I wasn't going to be able to play it, why not talk about it?
For sure.
Why not write about it?
Yeah.
Why not watch it for a living? Why not, you know what I'm saying? Like, just do everything else associated with sports if I can't play it. So that's kind of how that came about.
Gotcha. So did you play sports in high school?
I did. I played football, basketball, and then track in middle school. I've always been an athlete all my life. always been real big into the gym and stuff. And so I'm not just like one of these guys that talks in front of a camera without having, any sort of previous background, experience.
So out of for most of the clips that I've seen from you talking and things, it seems mostly geared towards football. Are you just like are you focused just on football, or is it all sports?
See, eventually I want it to be all sports, eventually, right? Because like I talked about earlier, I do want that throne that Steezy A Smith is sitting in. And for me, if I'm going to start up, a network or have my own network, I got to be able to cover all the bases, like everything.
For sure.
And that's how I'm going to, separate myself from other people. Because there's a lot of people doing this, a lot of networks, a lot of companies, a lot of people doing this.
Just like podcasting.
Yeah, exactly.
Lots of things going on.
And so it's a very competitive field. And so, yeah.
So in that field, though, how do you set yourself up uniquely from everybody else?
Great question.
Because like you said, there is a lot of sportscasters, just like podcasters. So
right. I think for me, and this is what people have told me, time and time again. And so this isn't necessarily what I think, it's what others think, but they always tell me the energy, the vibe and how it's authentic is real, and that you can't coach passion, you can't coach energy, you can't coach, like the sort of aura that somebody gives off, that's you can't coach that stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like for me, that's one of the ways that I've been able to kind of come into the game and have my own twist. And I think passion as well. Like I said, all my life, this is something I've been, had my feet in, whether it's playing, writing, talking, whatever it may be. So sports has kind of dominated my life, and that's kind of where it comes from.
Awesome. So are you doing this on like I know you have like the internet presence, but have you ever tried like any traditional sports media?
So as far as like a job?
Yeah, maybe like, working for a broadcast company or...
No doubt. Yeah, it was last summer when I was working for an app based out of Atlanta. They're called Press Sports. And I was a salaried, employee over there for about, 4 or 5 months. I actually currently work. I have a bunch of side jobs, but one of my side jobs is for a little sports network.
Okay.
We talk fantasy sports on there, a little bit of betting called Sportstopia. And so... there's that, and then I've had numerous like little partnerships or like little affiliations with different like companies and different sports media networks and whatnot. I've worked with a lot of people in the industry. So I guess that's that. Yeah.
Awesome. Sportstopia though, what exactly do you guys do there? Is it like a weekly thing, monthly thing, or how is that?
So I'm not on there daily.
Okay.
My coworkers, my colleagues are, but we pretty much run Monday through Friday live shows, talking baseball, talking football, talking basketball. And we're talking like setting fantasy lineups, betting lines, betting odds, just giving out fantasy advice, answering fantasy trade questions and whatnot, things like that. I'm on there Wednesdays and Fridays, and then I also drop weekly columns every Wednesdays and Fridays as well.
Oh, awesome. So you do traditional sports writing as well. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Where could we find Sportstopia on?
So you can find it anywhere, everywhere. Sportstopia.io, not .com, but if you want to look for the website, sportstopia.io, and then just Sportstopia HQ, Instagram, Twitter. And I know right now we're working on building a TikTok and a Facebook, but at Sportstopia HQ.
You know, going to what you're saying about the like TikTok and building all that, how important is that for somebody that's trying to be in the profession that you're going into, like building that online presence?
I think it's very, very important, because there's some people out there that can't go the traditional route. They can't afford to go to school. They can't afford to take out the loans. They don't have the financial aid necessary to be able to pay for, classes or to be able to attend these different universities. Because a lot of jobs, they do require, you to have like a 4-year, broadcasting degree or media communications degree. And so I think for somebody, that I don't have a 4-year degree, I have a 2-year degree. And so somebody like me, for example, as far as building an online presence, I didn't go the traditional route. Mm-hmm. And so if you're not going to go the traditional route, you got to be able to do something else where you can stand out. And I've had, the Seahawks actually interviewed me multiple times. Okay. I have multiple people within the building that I have connections with that have vouched for me in the past. And so I just think that when you're not going the traditional route, you have to have something else that sets you apart, and having an online presence, that's what it does for you.
Mm-hmm. So have you ever thought, and I don't know if maybe you're doing this already, but creating your own like show on your own? I know you do like the clips and things like that where you talk about, but is there ever a thought of like maybe creating a whole show around just yourself?
Definitely. I mean, this has been a little sporadic, and I've been on a little hiatus myself as far as like, real live shows.
Yeah.
But it was, I think, about a year ago, I was doing live Seahawks shows every Wednesday.
Okay.
Like once every week. And so when I had kind of split from, because I had a manager, I had a guy, that was doing behind the scenes stuff with me when it comes to all this. And so ever since we kind of split apart and we kind of went our separate ways, I went on a little hiatus to kind of try to figure things out, how I'm going to attack things and whatnot. And so,
Yeah.
So,
how is it though operating the space without a manager? Like how much influence do they have on like your opportunities and things? And
man, he definitely had a bunch. And I don't want to take anything away from him, but at the same time, I also think it's kind of refreshing, just kind of doing this by myself now, because I kind of get to see it from these different angles. But don't get me wrong, he provided me with a lot of opportunities. He's the one that kind of jump-started my merch. He's the one who helped me make my business cards. He was editing my videos at one point, making thumbnails, all the things that happen away from the camera.
Right.
And those are things that I wasn't always accustomed to all those things. And so it was definitely a bit of a learning curve, being able to do all that without him. But I think the more that you know, the more that you're setting yourself up in the future.
That's for sure. Yeah, I'm sure that the things that you did learn from him will help you in the future.
No doubt.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So talk about like what your trajectory looks like now. Like what are some of the key milestones you want to hit as you ascend towards, Stephen A. Smith or, being on a network or...
Man, there's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot. I will say that. But I think right now, first and foremost, I'm about, what is it, like 30, 40 something away from hitting 4,000 on YouTube.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And, like I said earlier, I just started the channel up a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And that's including a 1-year hiatus. And so, before all that, I felt like the trajectory was real, real high. But I think right now the goal is first and foremost, hit 4,000. Once I hit 4,000, then 10,000 on YouTube. And in the process, while I'm doing that, is to get noticed by some of these local, Seattle media outlets, the Seattle Times, Seattle Sports Station, KJR.
Right.
Maybe another conversation with the Seahawks themselves. So those are kind of the short-term goals for me right now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Talk about the YouTube thing, though, because you said it slowed down a little bit. I do feel like within maybe like the last 6 months to a year, the YouTube traffic has slowed down quite a bit.
Yeah.
For the creatives. Like, obviously, the big podcasts and shows and stuff are still going to do their numbers. But I don't think it's as... I don't know how to put this into words, but it just doesn't seem like the algorithm is pushing towards the creatives anymore like it used to.
Right.
So have you seen that kind of slump in that? And like, how are you changing things up to try and break through that slump?
Man, that's a great question. I think for me, it's really just about trying to pump out as much content as I possibly can. I've had talks with other people in the industry, other content creators, and one of the things they're always trying to push is you want to put out a bunch of shorts clips.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially shorts clips that cater to your niche. And the more that you do that, man, the more that YouTube recognizes it and kind of rewards you as far as the algorithm. At the same time, you still want to drop, your regular long-form content, maybe host a live show here or there. But I think for me, when it comes to is really just trying to pump out as much of those as you possibly can, having a consistent schedule, and having thumbnails that pop.
Yeah, thumbnails are pretty important. I don't think people understand that. Thumbnails and hashtags. I know hashtags aren't working as they used to, but those things are important for SEO and all that, those types of things, searchability.
Yeah, and I think with hashtags, as long as you don't overdo it, as long as you pick the right ones, the ones that are most relevant to what you're dropping, then you're.
Yeah, what the crazy thing is, though, is you can go and search on YouTube, like, how do I use hashtags to better my videos and things like that. And it seems like everybody has a different answer. But it seems like the most successful people, they give you a very plain answer. It's like they almost want to gatekeep what actually made their videos pop. Yeah. And maybe it was just like one viral video that got them a whole bunch of attention, but it doesn't seem like anybody wants to share the secrets.
Yeah, I feel like nowadays, not even when it comes to this, just a lot of things in general, it's weird, but people like to gatekeep. Yeah. Even when it comes to music.
Yeah, for sure.
Music, and this is a personal example, but even just like when it comes to little things like, let's say, you're out with the homies and somebody takes a group picture of you guys, and then one of the homies has the picture, and you look at the picture, you're like, yo, that's a fire picture. Like, send me that picture. And he's like, yeah, I got you. And then 2 weeks later, you still don't have it.
Yeah.
And so
it's on his Instagram.
It's on his Instagram. And so it just kind of goes back to what I was saying. Like, people like to gatekeep everything nowadays. And
it's strange.
Even something as trivial as a picture.
Yeah.
So when it comes to that, I'm not surprised. It is what it is, and I'm gonna keep it pushing regardless.
For sure. It's a good attitude. I like that. Collaboration wise, do you collaborate with other people that are in the sports field?
Oh, all the time.
Like local people as well?
All the time. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, but Norbcam.
Sounds really familiar.
I wouldn't be surprised if you've seen him in the past, but he kind of blew up when the Seahawks were winning Super Bowls or appearing in Super Bowls in the mid to early 2010s. And he's built up a fan base of, I think, 50,000 on YouTube. And he made SportsCenter a couple of times. Cool. And he's gone viral a couple of times. I think he's kind of plateaued though, and he hasn't really been focusing on YouTube like he once was. Yeah. But he was kind of a guy that when I first started this whole YouTube thing, he was a guy kind of bringing me along, having me on his shows weekly. And then I have a good friend over there in Spokane. He's a reporter for KHQ. His name is Noah Bolter. Okay. He used to go by Squabo, and big inspiration of mine. I definitely have to give him a lot of credit because without him, I don't even know if I'd have a YouTube channel. Today. And so those are guys that I've worked with. And like I talked about, I've worked with people from ESPN, NFL Network, Sports Illustrated, The Athletic. The list goes on. And so I'm open to working with anybody and everybody. I don't usually turn people down. Yeah. And so, I've worked with a lot of people.
That's awesome. Is there like kind of like a sports, like, I don't want to say clique, but like community within Washington? Like, do a lot of the people that are trying to do this get along and
I'd say
help each other?
Man, that's a great question. I think it's a little iffy. I don't think I've had enough experiences to be able to speak on it as much as maybe the next person. But I think from what I've seen so far, there isn't really too much of a community. Because when I look at like a lot of my subscribers or fans or even just the fan base, a lot of them come from outside of Seattle. A lot of them come from outside of Washington. And so, firsthand, I don't really get to see it for myself as much over here. But what I can say is out of the state and, across the world for that matter, it definitely feels more tight-knit.
That's interesting that outside of the place that you are, where you would think you'd get the most
love
and appreciation because you're doing it for, especially like a lot of yours geared towards local sports. Right. But then it gets more national attention. It's crazy. Right. I think home is always the last people to get on it though, right? Like,
yeah, and it's like when you've when you've actually, I guess, become big, and not when you're like, I feel like on the come up, that's when people want to kind of, hop on a wave.
Yeah,
that's when
right.
they want to start showing some love. It's like, oh, shoot, like I heard about him before, but he wasn't that big. He's a lot bigger now. Let me, you know what I'm saying? Like, let me hop on a wave now. Let me tap in now. And so I think it kind of goes back to that. But that's really, I think, the situation in a lot of different fields across the world, really.
Yeah, for sure. Do you ever have to deal with any unruly fans from other teams when you're making videos?
All the time. But I've also, because I usually collaborate, especially during the season, with content creators of the opposing team.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, you know how Seattle plays the Niners, the Rams, the Cardinals twice a year, every year. And so before those games, I'd have 49er content creators hit me up, Cardinal content creators, Ram content creators, and they'd invite me on their show. And, they would host a live show. And so we're able to interact with the fans, as we're hosting that show. And a lot of the reception that I get is real positive, actually. Especially from Niner fans. They're always talking about how I'm the coolest Seahawks fan around. I'm the coolest Seahawks content creator around. And I'm not, like, biased. I'm not super subjective when it comes to analysis. Like, I keep it real. And so usually, fan bases of the Seahawks and the Niners, they don't get along.
Yeah,
but I feel
historically,
like historically,
my uncle's a huge 49ers fan.
Oh,
and we're always butting heads over the Seahawks 49ers.
Oh, man. Yeah. See, if I had a Niner family or a Niner fan in the family, I don't know. The trash talk would be crazy.
He was like the old school Niners, though. So, like Ronnie Lott and stuff. So, it's like, all right, get this generation before we start talking about,
Oh, yeah. They haven't won anything in our generation.
Yeah.
I mean, that was all in the 80s and 90s.
Hey, he said that. I didn't.
Yeah. Hey, but hats off to him, though. No disrespect.
They look nice this year. I will say
that. Yeah. I'm not going to lie.
Did you see this whole little rumor thing about Brock Purdy living out of like a Motel 6 or some shit like that?
What? What's going on? Wait, hold on. Talk to me.
He was apparently he was trying to get a house in Steph Curry's like community, and they shut it down or something. So he's living out of a Motel 6.
Like even right now.
Yeah, even right now. Yeah,
that's wild.
This seems like a movie.
Right, but see, then again, though, he was Mr. Irrelevant, and
That's
so
true.
not to look into another man's pockets, but last time I checked, the last pick in the draft doesn't really make nearly as much money, compared to somebody that was drafted, let's say, in the first round.
But I don't like the pocket watch either, but I did see how much he makes, and I was like, this is a lot more than Hotel 6 money.
True. Maybe he comes from a cheap family.
He could be very frugal.
He could be frugal, which is not a bad thing, by the way.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, I mean, for those of you guys, that'll see this, they'll tune in. Just a fun fact, but LeBron James, we all know he's one of the richest people in the world. Forget athletes, just one of the richest people in the world.
Yeah, period.
He brings his lunch.
Yeah.
To whether it's practice, work meetings, team meetings, to games. Like, that's what I read, and that's what I was, I guess, told. Like, he still brings his own lunch.
Yeah, well, there's an infamous video of him from the NBA season where he's injured and he's eating almonds on the side of the
court while
he's injured.
I've seen that.
He brought his own snacks.
Yeah, right.
And he always brings a little cup of wine, too, so he balances out. Good balance. Speaking of bias, so you did bring up bias. So you're such a fan of the Seahawks, but you're also having to cover them. How do you balance not being biased in that situation?
Man, see, this is going to sound very vanilla, but I think for me specifically, I'm able to I call it like how I see it. And for me, when it comes to my eye test, like I said, I used to play the sport.
Yep. And
so I know football outside of the Seahawks. And so I think it kind of comes from having a knowledge outside of your team, like, if that makes sense. I think just doing that, that's really it. I mean, because I really I try to just be myself.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just not biased to begin with, like in other areas of life, but I think it's really having had a passion for the sport before I really started becoming involved with the Seahawks.
Yeah, definitely. It's really hard to be objective when you're a fan. Because even like when I go fill out my fantasy roster, like sometimes I feel, I'm like, okay, I want to take Kenneth Walker, because he's home. Like,
right.
I want to take Geno, but then that gets into a whole thing about fantasy and choosing all your players that are home, and then that gets screwed up.
Yeah, and I just think that a lot of the times, like, people think that because you are a fan of a team that you can't provide objective analysis. I think you could do both.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think if you know enough football, you're able to kind of separate the two.
Yeah.
And for somebody like me that's still really trying to, climb that ladder of the sports media world, it's like I really got to know what I'm doing, and I really got to, just make sure that I'm not being biased.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
I want to make sure that what I'm putting out there is what people want to hear, for one, and two, just what's actually facts. So
What are some like some sports TV shows that you kind of like, or
honestly, I don't really watch TV.
you're not like a Ballers guy?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you could say that. I guess if I am watching stuff outside of like game highlights or just film, I do like Quarterback. You know, they dropped that on Netflix. What was it, like a month or two ago?
Is that the one where they have different quarterbacks every episode? Like, wasn't Baker Mayfield on there?
No, so it was it's pretty much a series where they highlight and focus on 3 quarterbacks.
Okay.
And I think in season 1 they highlighted Patrick Mahomes, Marcus Mariota, and Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
And so they kind of follow them throughout the season. Next season, Matthew Stafford is a guy that I know.
I like that one.
Yeah, I like that one too. I don't know about the other 2 quarterbacks, but yeah, they pretty much just follow the quarterback throughout the season, get like all access and kind of document like how they prepare for games, what happens after games, and just stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what are your predictions for the Seahawks this year?
Man,
This is like your bread and butter right here. So we need some good predictions.
Man, I think I don't think Seattle wins the division this year, but I do think Seattle has a winning record. I do think that Seattle does enough to get into the playoffs. I do think that Seattle will win at least one playoff game.
Okay.
But as far as like making the Super Bowl, not this year. I think the trajectory is there. I think they're on the right path. I think they're maybe still a piece or 2 away from, really making a case and stamping themselves as legitimate Super Bowl contenders. But this team is young.
Yeah.
About half the team is made up of freshmen and sophomores.
Yeah.
And so it's one of the youngest rosters in the National Football League. Obviously, they're ahead of schedule after trading away a Russell Wilson. But if you ask me one more time, I'm going to predict that they win enough games to make the playoffs. I'm going to predict that they win at least one playoff game. And if they make the NFC Championship or even the Super Bowl, I'd be very surprised, but I think they're still a year away.
Okay. What moves do you think they could make to put them in that contention?
Man, that's a great question. I think right now, if Seattle were to stand pat, really just gaining more experience for all these guys. I mean, because like I talked about, almost 50% of the team are freshmen and sophomores, and these guys only get better with more snaps, with more time on the field, with more experience, just playing more games. And so I really think just playing more together and kind of establishing more camaraderie, more chemistry, spending more time with each other, becoming more and more familiar with the playbook. I think if Seattle were to stand pat, within a year from now, if they weren't able to make any moves, I really think that progress alone would be enough to kind of vault them into a tier of Super Bowl contenders.
Who do you think has the best chance right now of winning the Super Bowl?
Man, this is going to hurt me to say this, but like I told you, I call it how I see it, but the San Francisco 49ers.
They're nice, man.
They're nice. If they stay healthy, I'd be surprised if they don't win the Super Bowl this year.
They're nice. Yeah.
Too nice.
Caffrey, yeah. And they really lucked out with Purdy.
With Purdy, yeah. I mean, Mr. Irrelevant for crying out loud.
Yeah, that's crazy.
What, last pick in the draft.
But those are always my favorite stories.
Yeah.
It's always great seeing those guys, especially people that they just kind of counted out. They get one shot, they do amazing, and then just kill it.
Right.
So
you can't really help but root for those guys, right?
That's true. Yeah. Definitely true. Well, let's talk about some of the hot topics in sports, because I have some things I wanted your opinion on. Coach Prime in Colorado. What do you think of him? Man,
I love Coach Prime. I think for me, I'm a man of God, and when I see Coach Prime, when he preaches, when he's giving out those pregame speeches, when he talks, those press game, post game, pregame conferences and whatnot, I love the energy. I love the enthusiasm. I love his fire for God. He always puts God first, and I really feel like you could see that in the fruits that his life is bearing.
For sure.
Like he came from Jackson State to now coaching, a major program, in the Pac-12 in Colorado. And I know they got beaten pretty badly by Oregon last weekend, but 3-1 on the season so far. I mean, this team went 1-11 last year.
Yeah, and they were only predicted to win 3 games this year
Just
anyways?
a couple games. Yeah. And so, here they are. People are talking about them. Everyone wants to either watch them win or lose.
Mm-hmm. It's very divided. It's weird.
It's weird. Yeah, there's nobody in the middle. You're either rooting for him or you're against him.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it has to be black and white. I don't think it should be. But yeah, with Coach Prime, I love everything about him, the vibes, the energy, the fire for God, and just how how inspirational, how dedicated he is to his
100%.
craft and really helping others to succeed.
Yeah, one thing I love about him is he's got his kids with him too, man.
Oh, yeah.
Like he's making sure that those guys are doing good. He's making sure that the players that he has on that team are being taken care of. I think I saw a commercial and he had the backup running back in the commercial with them.
Oh, wow.
Like he's making sure guys are getting taken care of, which I think is really dope. That's why, and I want your opinion on this too. Like, what do you think about the other coaches that like seem to single him out when it comes to their games?
I think it's really just them hating. I think that's really what it comes down to. Because you're not used to seeing somebody like him that's as vocal as him doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
When he's getting so much credit, he's getting so much attention, recognition, the spotlight. He's literally getting all of the spotlight.
Yeah.
And so, hey, I'd be a little jealous too.
Yeah.
If somebody literally just came and burst onto the scene and now they're getting all this love from the fans, from the world. Like, yeah, I'd be a little jealous too. So I think that's really what it stems from.
It's weird to me though, because these coaches, they've give their whole lives to football. Yeah. This is a man who's changed football forever. So I would think at the bare minimum you would respect him for what he did on the field and what he's done for the game of football, which is why it's a little crazy that people keep coming out and taking shots at him.
Yeah, I don't get it. It's like people forget that he is the only player in this history of the world, in the history of sports, to ever play, I think, in the World Series and a Super Bowl.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Which is just wild.
Yeah, Michael Jordan couldn't even do that.
Michael Jordan couldn't do it. Like, Michael Jordan couldn't even crack the majors.
That's true.
He was in the minors the whole time, and that's what people don't always realize. And Deion Sanders, he wasn't no scrub in the majors either.
No.
Like, he was an actual impact player.
Yeah.
And obviously, as we know, his standing in football, he's one of the greatest football players of all time.
Yeah.
Position be damned. And so to be that elite of an athlete in two different sports, I think that's enough credibility in and of itself, is it not?
Yeah, it should at least require the minimum respect from people.
Exactly.
Which is like, why? And I get that people are kind of hating because he's got such a spotlight on him now, but it's just like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like the respect is there. And it's just like magnified with him just because of everything that's going on around him. He's built this universe in Colorado.
He really has.
You got Offset showing up, Lil Wayne. You've got his glasses selling out.
Yeah, over $1 million.
Yeah, and he's also injecting money into Colorado that wasn't there before. Like, that's insane. Like, he literally changed that entire football program around. And on what could have been a non-guarantee, they said that we can't pay you right now, but if you come over here, we'll get the money.
And that's all they've been doing.
Yeah.
The money just been flowing in.
APs have been shining, man.
Yeah. I mean, man. I'm only continuing to root for him and his success, and obviously his sons as well. Like I talked about, just another man of God like myself, and seeing that, I only want to continue to see him win and just continuing to shut the doubters up.
Yep.
You never see him in press conferences because I don't know if you saw that, but remember when that Oregon coach took a couple shots at him?
Yeah, I can't think of the guy's name.
Right, I can't think of his name either, but he talked about how, Colorado's in it for clicks, we're in it for wins.
Literally while he's doing something for clicks?
Yeah, while he's doing something for clicks, like, whenever people bring up, the shit talking, right, that people say about Coach Prime, whenever they bring it up to him in an interview, he's never going to speak badly, in exchange or in return. He's not going to, retaliate. He's going to, kind of fight back in peace and not say nothing rude. And I think just how cool, calm, and collected he is in those moments. I think that really speaks volumes about who he is as a person.
Yeah, and it does seem like that even though people take personal shots at him, he doesn't take it to heart.
Never.
He's
never
like,
does.
okay, well, you know what? We're just going to prove on the field who we are.
Yeah, it's just more fuel to the fire, right?
Mm-hmm. And even with the loss to Oregon, I mean, realistically, Oregon's an amazing program, right? And Colorado's still getting its feet under them, but I still think that the way he carried himself after that game as well, he didn't say, oh, man, we lost, like, with all this stuff.
We didn't have our best player. He didn't say that.
He didn't say anything. He made no excuses. He said, we just got to be better, and we're going to get better. Mm-hmm. And I like that he said we keep receipts, too.
Yeah,
that was some shit. I'm really happy for him though, man. What do you think about the USC game?
Man, I think there's gonna be a bunch of people. I think it's gonna be a bunch of fireworks. I think it's gonna be very, very entertaining.
It's gonna be very Hollywood, I think.
Very Hollywood, yeah. I can't wait.
I'm excited, man.
I'm super excited. I don't think they'll get blown out like they did against Oregon.
I don't think so either. I think they needed that to kind of fine tune a little bit
and to wake up a little bit. I don't know if Travis Hunter's gonna play.
It doesn't sound like it.
It doesn't sound like it. But I think it kind of gives an opportunity for the rest of the team to kind of show what they're made of.
Yeah.
You know, like, how are you guys going to respond and bounce back without your best player after that 42-0 beatdown?
Yeah.
Like, I think this is really what's going to show the rest of the world what these guys are really made of.
Yeah.
So,
it's exciting.
Yeah.
Except the only fact that the game is like 9:30 in the morning, isn't it?
Man, it could be. I
think
didn't
it's
check the
super
time.
early, which is crazy to me that you would play that game that early.
That early, yeah. I guess it's going to have to force everyone to wake up early. Shoot.
That's true. Well, so I'm going to LA the weekend after that, and I wanted to go to a USC game. That one's against Arizona, and that's at 7:30.
At night, huh?
Yeah, I was like, what? Why? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh, man. I don't know what the schedule makers are doing.
Yeah. I'm excited, though. I've never been to the Rose Bowl, so I think that's going to be a pretty cool thing to go to.
I've never been there either, but yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Bro.
I've been trying as I get older, especially if I go visit more places. I've been trying to go to more stadiums, you know, just to, and it could be anything, whether it's football, basketball, anything. I like basketball more than football, but I'll go to football stuff for sure.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Just to be in that environment. What do you think about this whole Stephen A. Smith, Skip Bayless Cold War that's going on right now? And how do you think it affects sports media? Because I do think that there's a lot of ripples that are going to come out of this breakup, if you will.
I think to kind of answer your
sorry, not
question.
Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharp, but I guess Stephen A. Smith is a pretty big piece in this too.
Yeah, because he was the one that was interviewing Shannon Sharp. I think in all, it's good for the sports media world. I mean, because you're bringing more attention to guys that cover the sport as opposed to guys that play the sport, right? And so at the end of the day, whether it's positive or negative publicity, I mean, it's publicity nevertheless to two guys that are, you know, central figures in the sports media world. So I think for one, it's a good thing when you think bigger picture. But as far as like, you know, them two and how they split, I think it's definitely gonna make people more wary, you know, moving forward, like in the future, of who you're gonna be debating against or who your co-host is gonna
Partnering with.
who you're partnering with. I mean, yeah, they had great chemistry. Yeah, they put out a great product, a great show for as long as they did. But at the same time, like if those guys weren't cool off of the show, then I just don't think that's, I guess, a dynamic that you want to have.
No, I mean, nobody wants to show up to work every day and beef with their coworker.
Exactly.
You know, that doesn't make for a good environment. Also, the thing I think is too, and I think that Skip's a reflection of a lot of sports fans now, they let the sports become too personal for them.
Yeah.
You know, like he was willing to dog on somebody who's an amazing football player for Tom Brady. That man don't know you like that.
It's like how he rides for Tom Brady is just, to me, it's crazy because it's like you don't see people riding like that for their own family.
Right.
You know, for their own loved ones.
This dude would shoot somebody for Tom Brady.
For Tom, who knows what he would do at this point? I mean, he's willing to humiliate his co-host live on air just so, you know, his love, his admiration for Tom Brady can be shown. Like, I think that speaks ill of his character.
I think so too.
You know, and the fact that he was willing to do that, I think he's capable of a lot worse. Yeah.
And that's why it's kind of interesting, the dynamic that he has on his show now, being like kind of the back voice instead of being like the prominent figure. But maybe that's what he learned. He might have learned his lesson. Like, I've been too loud. I've been too in people's faces. Maybe I need to step back. And let other people do it. The reason why I asked you if you think traditional sports media is dying is because we're seeing a lot of non-traditional sports media now, like what you're doing, but also these players getting podcasts and doing their own shows and things like that. So do you think that, let me put it this way, like if you watch ESPN, you see the same thing 24 hours a day. But if you go watch like Draymond's podcast, you're going to get analysis about something that's personal to the player. It's going to bring a whole new story. So do you think eventually sports media is going to shift towards that? I mean, you do have guys that are doing podcasts and doing analyst stuff, and they do amazing at it. But do you see it moving more towards like the more personal stories with the players and like people outside of these major networks?
Man, I love that question. I think we'll still see both. You know, I truly think that you can't have one without the other. And I just think that with traditional, you know, sports media / journalism in which you're having to write, right, putting out articles, I still think that's essential. I still think that that's something that, you know, people want to do. I still think that that's content that people want to, you know, kind of indulge in. And without that, I can't really consider it real sports media. Like, yeah, with all this new stuff, the new wave, obviously that's changing a lot of things, but I just truly feel like if the old part of sports media were to die down, what's taken over isn't really going to be real sports media. Like, yeah, it's the new version of sports media, but it's not the same, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess in a way too, there's only so many stories a player can tell. And when you're doing 2 or 3 guys a week on your podcast, eventually you're going to run out of things to talk about. I do like it though, because like with the Draymond stuff, right? Like you get the analysis right after something happens, which I think is great. It's kind of like when Tony Romo started being on CBS and he could break down a play before it even happens. Like I love seeing that kind of stuff. There was another thing I wanted to ask you about. Let me see. Oh, just happened today. What do you, or I don't know, how much basketball do you cover?
So growing up, the NBA was always my first love.
Okay.
Basketball was always my first love. Even though I talk more football, I'll always be like an NBA connoisseur.
Okay.
And so even though I don't cover it nearly as much, I still, when it comes to knowledge and just paying attention to what's going on, oh yeah, I'm still.
Do you do fantasy basketball?
I do.
That shit's hard, man.
It's harder.
It's hard, yeah.
It's harder than fantasy football, but I think it's damn near just as fun.
Yeah. No, I agree. But it's hard trying to set lineups every single night.
It is.
Like,
but for me,
I forget a lot. I'm a forgetful person.
Right. And I mean, that's a lot of people around me. But when it comes to fantasy football, like last year I played in 45 leagues. This year I play in 25. And so
You're
it's
in
like
25 leagues?
Yeah, I'm in 25.
God damn. I got 2 and I think that's too much for me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
People say 1 is a lot.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just for me, with being in 25 leagues, I'm kind of checking lineups and making moves every single day anyway. So with fantasy basketball, it's really just a continuation of what I've been doing with football, like checking lineups every day, making moves, things of that nature. And so I think it really just comes second nature.
Definitely. Some predictions for the NBA season. Who do you think's taking it all? There's been a lot of moves this year.
There's been a lot of moves. This might sound a little premature because it just happened, and I don't know if they're going to be able to, surround this team with the proper depth. But I think right now, it's kind of hard not to go Milwaukee.
Dude, that team's crazy.
It's crazy, yeah.
You got Dame, Giannis, obviously.
Giannis,
you have
Chris Middleton. Brook Lopez.
You have Portis coming off the bench.
You still got Portis coming off the bench, right?
That guy's had one crazy revitalization of his career.
Oh, yeah.
It seemed like he was almost out of the league at one point.
Yeah, he's definitely had a career renaissance here. And look, another local guy, Marjon Beauchamp. Shout out Marjon Beauchamp if you're watching this. But he's going to get better. I expect him to take, the next step forward in his development. He's another guy. And now that this team has acquired, a Damian Lillard come the trade deadline, or guys that get bought out after the trade deadline, you're going to have everyone wanting to play for the Bucks now.
For sure.
Because, this is the new heavyweight. And, that happens every year. But right now, I'm going to have to go with the Milwaukee Bucks.
Damn, over the Suns.
Yeah, see, for me, even before the Bucks made the move for Damian Lillard, I wasn't the biggest believer in the Suns because I love their big 3, right? Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, KD, but there's no depth.
I love them all 3 separately. I don't know if I love them together.
Yeah, I don't know if I love them together either.
It's a different dynamic for sure.
No doubt. And for me, it's always like availability is the best ability. And so that's why Kevin Durant hasn't been able to crack the best player in the NBA, according to me. Because he just hasn't been available that much. When was the last time he played a full season? When was the last time he played 70-plus games? It's been a while. And so Bradley Beal, he hasn't been the same in a couple years. I don't know how he's going to look. Devin Booker, I think, is just a little overrated. He's a star. He's a bona fide scorer. He's a great player, but I don't think he's a top 10 player, and he's getting that sort of treatment. And so I'm not a big believer in the Suns.
I think he's a fringe top 10er.
Yeah, I'd say more top 15.
He has like moments where he seems like he's even sometimes top 5. Like he has some games where he just goes crazy.
He just goes nuts.
But it's not consistent enough for me to include him in the top 10 right now. There's too many players doing too many amazing things.
Exactly. And I don't think he's a complete player on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So I think that's another thing you kind of have to factor in. But Lakers going to be a threat as well.
That's my team.
That's your team?
I can't wait, man.
Well, my dad and a lot of family members are Laker fans.
Okay.
And so that's a team I'm always going to be rooting for, right? Even though I'm a Heat fan. But I think Lakers definitely going to be a threat. Phoenix, Milwaukee, Boston, and then Miami's still going to be,
I think they're one piece away.
One piece away. I think if we trade for Drew, that definitely help things, but we could use another scorer.
Yeah.
Maybe another big man as well. And so we'll see what happens at the trade deadline, but I'm really excited for the NBA this year. Super excited.
With the Dame off the table, do you think that maybe Miami makes a run at James Harden? Because James Harden in Miami would be fucking crazy.
It would be, and I think Miami could get him right.
Yeah,
you know, I know that the nightclub scenery in Miami would be very alluring to a guy like James Harden, but I do also think that Miami would be able to keep him in check. I do think that Miami would hold him accountable.
For sure.
I do think that Miami does have the culture and the pieces in place as far as the coaching staff, the front office to kind of make sure that he's not, partaking in too much of that.
Yeah, for sure.
And he definitely has, a bunch of defenders, a bunch of dogs, a bunch of hustlers. I do think that he would succeed as long as he's willing to buy in. But I think to answer your question right now, no. I don't think Miami pivots in his direction. I still think that there's a couple other stars that you could potentially, try to get who could be better fits, cleaner fits. But I definitely think that there's still a move or two that Miami needs to make and will make. Because I think that reality is going to hit him hard once the regular season starts.
Who do you think the moves that can be made?
I think a trade for perhaps Zach LaVine.
That would be nice.
I think Zach
Hometown
LaVine.
Guy. Shout out Zach LaVine.
Shout out Zach LaVine, another Washington guy. Like we talked about, James Harden. Let's say, and this is unlikely, but let's say Dame, is so intent on Miami that he's willing to force Milwaukee's hand and force Milwaukee to send him to Miami. Maybe, Miami can kind of, get back in the Dame conversation with that. I definitely think that if Philadelphia, if they continue to, I guess, descend, maybe Joel Embiid.
I can see him becoming available.
Right, he could be available. So those are just some guys to name a few, for sure.
Awesome. What do you think chances are for Kyrie and Luka this year?
See, they need more pieces around them. I love the pairing. I love the duo. I think when healthy, Kyrie's a top 10, top 12-ish player in the league.
He might be one of, if not the best ball handlers ever.
I think he is the best ball handler.
Dude, what he's able to do is absolute art to me.
Right. He's just an absolute wizard. And, with what he's capable of. And I know a lot of people were kind of down on the Mavs because of their overall record. And they looked at the before and after, right? Before Kyrie got there, they were the 4th seed in the West. After he got there, they tumbled all the way down to out of the play-in. That's not necessarily an indictment on Kyrie, though.
No,
like, that team had no depth after trading for Kyrie.
Yeah. They gave away their depth in that trade.
Literally. Yeah. And so I'd, give them another opportunity to kind of, build around them. I don't think they did enough this offseason.
I don't think so either.
But I definitely think that they're a lock to be in the playoffs. I do think that those two guys are just simply far too talented, when healthy, to not will this team to at least, 7th, 8th seed, maybe a spot in the play-in tournament. But they're definitely going to be, to me, a playoff lock.
Definitely. One player I think that's going to make a major jump this year, too, and he's a local kid, Jaden McDaniels.
Oh, yeah. What?
Yeah.
Come on, shout out Jaden.
Yeah, shout out Jaden, man. That kid is insane, and he's only going to get better. Defensively, he's already, I think,
he's
top.
Elite.
Yeah.
He's already elite. 6'9", 6'10", with long-ass arms.
Yeah,
And
he's from Fed, so I'm always rooting for Fed.
Oh, yeah. Come on. Yeah.
Him and Jalen.
Yeah, let's go.
Shout out Jalen.
Shout out Jalen, and
what else did I have for you? I had something else. Dame to Milwaukee. Thoughts about upcoming NBA season. Coach Prime. Oh, I have a surprise, actually.
Okay, bet.
So, I'll talk off camera a little bit. That this has become like a big thing. Have you ever broken cards before?
Oh, yeah.
Let's do a couple packs just to see what we get.
Okay, yeah, let's do it. Man.
All right. Because I've actually seen, it's pretty crazy, the community that's been made behind sports cards. I mean, I used to collect sports cards as a kid, but what it is now is just, it's insane.
Yeah, I really feel like it was during COVID.
Yes.
When there was a huge spike.
People were hella bored, man.
Yeah, people were bored, kind of got back into
government cheese a little bit, So,
yeah, right? So just kind of like, F it, why not, right?
Yeah, man. I've seen these streams, and it just goes crazy, man, these people. I don't even know if this is a good box of cards, but should I do 3-3? See if you get anything good.
Steph on the cover. Ooh, okay.
All right, you want to do the first one?
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, yeah, let me do it at the same time. Hopefully we get something good, man. I want to autograph something.
Yeah, let's see what happens here. Let's see what we got in here.
Oh, that looks shiny. Quentin Grimes?
Kemba Walker.
Okay, Kemba, he's out of the league. But...
Out of the league. Kemba. That's foil. Okay. I don't know who this is.
I'm not even gonna disrespect him by trying to say his name on here because I don't know who the hell that is either.
Man, he's in the league, so shout out to bro. Hey, but this is actually a great series. Prism, this is what people go crazy for.
Okay, so you know a little bit about cards. Because I don't really know anything about cards.
Because growing up as a kid, I was a huge card guy.
Okay.
And I still have them, like, probably in my parents' garage.
Yeah. I have some, too. I have some old, like, Griffey ones. I have some stuff from... my grandma used to be a big QVCer. Okay. So you could buy like a box. It's like $40. It would come with a bunch of random shit. I got like a Cal Ripken bobblehead in it, and like a newspaper for Mark McGuire's 500th home run.
Wow,
man, I didn't get shit in this. Quentin Grimes, Kyle Kuzma, Kenyon Martin Jr., and that's interesting. A Dennis Rodman. I didn't even know that they came in there. Okay, shout out to my guy Rodman.
Okay, there was a Domantas Sabonis in there, but
Sabonis. Okay, I like Sabonis too.
I do like Sabonis.
Do you play a lot of sports video games too?
I used to. So I used to kick a lot of ass in Madden 2K.
Yeah.
Used to take people's money.
Yeah.
I used to play online, but I feel like it's really been years ever since I started like this whole journey into sports media. Like that's kind of when I just kind of gave up on video games.
Is it hard to watch sports and not be analytical?
Yeah, definitely. Because sometimes, like when I'm just watching games with friends, like I'll start getting real analytical.
You'll start getting steezy on them.
And then guys are just like, "Yo, like." Some of them might be a little tipsy. Some of them, might have had a couple of drinks, and it's like, yo, we just trying to watch the game here. Like, we don't need all that. So,
what you got for me?
Funny. But in this pack, okay, we got Jaylen Brown.
Okay, nice.
We got Jaylen Brown here. Okay, Alperon Sengun of the Rockets showed a lot of potential last year.
Yeah, he did. I do think that team is nice and young, and they're going to get some stuff done.
We were just talking about him. Marjan Beauchamp.
Oh, nice. You got to show the camera because that's home team.
Y'all can see this, man. Shout out Marjan.
Yeah, shout out Marjan.
You're going to see this one day. Ooh. That's a nice card. I like that.
That's dope.
I like that. And then we also got T-Mac.
Oh, T-Mac. Not in the Raptors T-Mac. Jersey. Okay.
Oh, wow. Y'all got to see that.
Yeah, that one's dope.
Y'all can see that.
Man. I got...
this is a dope pack.
DeMar DeRozan.
Okay.
I'm going to butcher this guy's name. Onyeka Okongwu.
Oh, Kongwu for the Hawks.
For the Hawks, yeah. Jaden Hardy, I believe he's a rookie. And Paolo, another hometown guy.
Oh, Paolo, let's go. Okay.
What did you think of DeJounte Murray punking him in Summer League?
Man, to me, see, I don't know about like any of the backstory details, anything like that, so I don't want to speak on too much, but I definitely, it was weird.
It seemed like a little strange to me.
Yeah, because it's like Baby Boy was kind of giving off hating vibes.
Yeah.
And I love Baby Boy. Like, I even have a picture with him, when he was in high school and I was like, I don't know how old I was.
Nice.
And so, we go back, but that was just weird. But then he was trying to justify himself by saying that, Paolo and his people were talking crazy.
Oh, on the sideline,
yeah. On the sidelines, and that Paolo was kind of acting Hollywood because now that he's in the league, he's made it.
Signing a Jordan brand,
he signed
I can kind of see it.
So I don't know what happened there, but it was definitely weird from both guys, both sides, and look, there's not too many hoopers out here that are doing what they're doing from Seattle.
For sure.
And so I really feel like we all gotta stick together, man. And
that unity's got to be there.
Yeah.
I don't like seeing that, especially when it's a player that's been in the league for a couple years and it's a new guy.
Right.
It's like, man, I would like to see you take him under your wing.
Of course. But also,
of course, don't know the backside.
Don't know the backside, right. So if Paolo and his people were talking mess and acting Hollywood and he thinks that he's too good to talk to him, then it's like, okay, you know what? Y'all was both being weird.
Yeah.
Y'all was both weird. I'm not even going to pick a side. Y'all was both being weird. And, man, hopefully y'all can hash it out. But which I think they have done.
Yeah,
so.
That's good.
Right.
We'll talk about the one athlete that you've met that had a huge impact on you. Because I have it on a negative side. So
on a negative? Oh, wow, I want to hear that.
Well, negative from my side, but yeah.
Right. Man, see, a lot of the athletes that I've spoken to, it's really just all business, right? So it was just an interview, or it was just I was there for that reason or for this reason. I never really had I guess a personal, because even when I was growing up as a kid, I wasn't going to games. I didn't have the cable, right? I wasn't watching Sports Center. And so honestly, I don't think I have one.
Oh, okay.
I really don't have
one. What about
a
favorite interview?
A favorite interview. I'm gonna have to say this was Wazoo versus Oregon.
Okay.
This was last year, literally around the same time.
Yeah.
And I remember Wazoo was up, 14 with 5 minutes to go, and then Oregon ended up coming back. But this was a huge Pac-12 matchup.
Yeah.
I remember after that game, I had talked to Coach, was it Coach Rolovich? Was he still the coach at that time? but whoever Wazoo's head coach was, and one of the linebackers. And that was my first time in the press conference room of a college game.
Okay.
And so I don't remember the players
cool.
that I spoke to, but for me, that's definitely one that stands out just because that was my first time, like, talking to guys in the college football scenery. Like, for me, I'm all professional ball.
Yeah.
And so, but just being a part of the college football scenery and college athletics, in general, like, the atmosphere was cool. Just seeing students, getting all hyped up and stuff. Like,
it's awesome.
I could see why. Exactly. Yeah. I could see why, like, college football, I think it's more popular than the NFL.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either, but I can see why.
I went to Eastern, and this was like maybe I was graduating probably maybe 2 years before Cooper was done there. But during our time, that was the Red Field. That was the man, I can't remember the quarterback's name at the time. He ended up playing for Oregon, Vernon Adams.
Okay.
Like around that time, we had just won FB. I think it's the FBS championship or whatever the next level down was. But there's nothing. I don't think there's anything that compares to college sports. Like I've been in a lot of games for professional. There's nothing like that environment.
No, there really isn't, bro. And so just being a part of that, like I said, it was surreal.
Yeah.
It was definitely a feeling that I want to capture again.
For sure.
And I know I will. And it was just different. And so, getting to, speak to those guys, it was a dope experience.
I'm gonna put this out in the universe for you. I want to see you as one of the fake reporter guys on 2K. Like with the tweets, and then they have the press conference, and they show the person.
Yeah.
We got to get you in that game somehow.
Hey, that'd be 50. That'd be 50.
The embarrassing one, well, not the what I said about the negative side of me meeting an athlete was actually pretty embarrassing. It was like 2009 or 10. A friend of mine, we went to Summer Jam, and it was I think it was Drake that year, maybe The Game, Jason Derulo, something like that, Rick Ross. We were there. I was mad drunk. I was like 19, 20 years old, like mad drunk. And we're walking out in like the pit area, and Jamal Crawford's there. I fucking love Jamal Crawford, man. Like he's staple in Seattle. He's from everything that I've seen. He's an amazing guy.
Shows love.
Yeah, shows love. He was there with Nate Robinson. I was so drunk, and I turned around. Or it was Jamal Crawford and Brandon Roy. And I was a huge Brandon Roy fan at this time. Well, I'm still, obviously, but I turned around. I was like, B-Roy, you're the fucking king. Just super drunk. All of them were like kind of looking at me weird. And then I approached to be like, hey, can I get an autograph? And I swear to God, I'm only 5'8", so I'm already a small guy. This guy was like 5'6", maybe. Came up to me, came up chest height and was like, yeah, we're not taking pictures right now, man.
Oh.
I got like spooked. I was like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. But I was so embarrassed the next day. I was like, man, I was so drunk, and I'm over here yelling, B-Roy, you're the king at a Drake concert. Like, oh man. We got one more pack though.
No, for sure. Was that like a security guard though that came up to you?
I think maybe Entourage.
Oh, Entourage.
Yeah.
Okay, Entourage member. Okay,
Yeah.
I got you.
But they were mad cool. They were just sitting there. It was just like Brandon Roy, Jamal Crawford. I think Nate Robinson was with them. They all were in kind of in the back area sitting against the gate. They were hella cool. They weren't like pushing people out of the way or, saying get out of their face or whatever, except for me apparently. But that's probably because I was screaming at them.
I guess they had reason to.
Yeah,
right?
they probably thought I was a threat or something. Like I'm just over here yelling for no reason.
Oh, that's funny, bro. So we got right here the Bojan Bogdanovic.
Okay.
For the Pistons.
Is he still on the Pistons?
I don't.
That guy gets traded a lot. So.
He does get traded a lot, yeah. Oh, Charles Barkley.
Oh, there we go.
I like these
okay.
retro cards.
Yeah,
that's cool. I see this one.
I love that generation of Philly jerseys too.
Yeah, right.
I was gonna say my favorite Seahawks jerseys are when it was Hasselbeck and Sean Alexander.
Those the Reebok ones.
And I'm a big Juvenile fan, so I think it was the song "In My Life" or whatever. He had the Sean Alexander jersey on with the Seahawks. I was like, oh my god, I've never seen a rapper wear Seattle shit. I was like, this is fire.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. I'll have to send you a picture. It's pretty dope.
Oh yeah, do that.
Yeah.
That
was a great song too.
Man, unfortunately, though, this pack, very mid. I mean, we got rookie Christian Braun.
Okay.
He played. He was nice, though, for Denver in the finals against my Heat. I remember him coming off the bench and, definitely doing his thing.
What made you a Heat fan, actually? I guess I never asked that.
So, man, that's a great question because people ask me that all the time. I remember growing up as a kid when I first saw D-Wade play.
Okay.
Because my uncles, they were all huge Michael Jordan fans.
Yeah.
They still believe, and I'm with them. I do think that MJ is the GOAT. And so they used to hype up Michael Jordan all the time. And so because they would do that, I would go back and watch some of their old VHSs, DVDs, just little recordings, whatever. And they had a whole bunch of Michael Jordan cards. And so I became a huge fan of Michael Jordan. And when I really started watching ball as a kid, I would watch D Wade and I'd be like, yo, this guy reminds me of MJ.
He does.
I wasn't watching those games like live, or I didn't grow up, in that time, but just from all the things that my uncles had passed down, right? The recordings, the DVDs, and all that. I really started to fall in love with MJ. And so when I saw D Wade come into the league, his play style really mimicked that of MJ's.
For sure.
Kobe was also one of my favorite players, but man, D Wade, he really sealed it for me. And so he was a guy that I really became enamored with. I started watching the Heat, and obviously he's Mr. Heat himself.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I ended up becoming a Heat fan mainly because of Dwayne Wade.
That's dope. Yeah, Kobe, very similar with the Jordan comparisons and everything. I actually used to have this crazy Jordan box set that I bought when I was maybe in high school. It was like the Jordan Ultimate Collection. They sold it at Walmart for like, I don't know, $20 something. But it had like a couple documentaries loaded onto there about like not only about him as a player, but like the Jordan brand line, like all that stuff. And then it had 6 additional DVDs, and each was a different finals game.
Bro, I have the same one.
Dude, I used to watch that shit over and over. Man, those were such. I wish I still had that set.
Somewhere. Oh, you don't have it no more?
It's somewhere. It's somewhere.
So for me, I have the OG like version, and that was the one that my uncles grew up with. Okay, the Ultimate Collection. So and I still have it in my parents' house. But
is it like a silver cover with him shooting? Yeah, that's the exact one I had.
And I know this one's OG because it's all like, how like when something gets old, like something like that, and you have it, over time, and it just starts to get like a bunch of like just different marks on it.
Yeah.
Or like it just looks old.
Yeah.
And so that's how I know that, this has been through a lot.
That's dope. That's dope. That was a good one.
Oh, that was a great one.
Siakam, Josh Hart, Frank Jackson, and Devin Vassell.
Oh.
Not the greatest pack. I'll take a Siakam though.
Yeah, right?
Nice. Well, you want to plug all your stuff right now?
Yeah, no. Man, I just want to say though, Zach, this has been fun.
Been a great time.
Yes, I've had a great time.
I haven't talked sports like this with somebody in a long time. Outside of friend group, so it's nice.
Right? Yeah. This is dope, bro. This was dope. Shout out to No Structure Podcast though, y'all. If you guys are tuned in, definitely show these guys some love, man. I love their work. I love what they've been doing. They're doing their own thing, and I think they deserve to be recognized for that. As for me, once you show them some love, then you can find me over at Steezy A Smith, SteezyASmith, at Steezy A Smith TV on Instagram, but everywhere else at Steezy A Smith. Find me on YouTube. You can find me on X. And then be sure to check out Sportstopia.io. If you play fantasy, football, basketball, or baseball, if you like to bet, you're looking for a site where you can get fantasy advice, betting advice, Sportstopia.io, and then Sportstopia HQ, Instagram, Twitter, and then soon TikTok and Facebook. But yeah, all my work's on there. Like I said, Steezy A Smith.
So before we get out of here, give us 3 fantasy picks this weekend.
Ooh, like players that you want to start?
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
If you've got them.
Oh,
no, I mean not if you've got them. I mean if people have got them on their team.
Okay, let's talk about some must starts because I did just drop an article this morning on Sportstopia.
Well, we can link it and everything. So this is the green screen, so we can put all kinds of shit back here.
Okay, for sure. Yeah. So once y'all see that article that's up there, I talked about my bargain bin guys because that's my weekly Wednesday segment where I talk about guys that I feel like can be had at cheaper prices.
Okay.
Because the sort of advice that we give out on there is like daily fantasy. I don't know if you play daily fantasy.
No.
Just season long.
I don't get that into it.
Yeah,
I got my Sundays, That's
right. Well, same here, but before I got the job, I wasn't the biggest guy into that as well. But one of the guys that I highlighted was Tank Dell. Rookie wide receiver for the Houston Texans. Has a very soft matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers this Sunday. They've been bleeding points all year long. I know we're only 3 weeks in, but it seems like every receiver that plays against the Steelers seems to have a great game.
Yeah.
For example, Brandon Ayuk in week 1. That's
true.
Week 2, there was Amari Cooper of the Browns. Week 3, this past Sunday night, Devontae Adams had 172 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And so with Tank Dell,
they still lost though, right?
Yeah, the Raiders, they lose.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, right. And even Jacoby Myers had 8 catches for like 86 yards.
Yeah, I have Jacoby Myers on. I think on both my teams actually.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I like Jacoby Myers.
Bro, value pick. But Tank Dell, I think he's been showcasing that chemistry with the CJ Stroud. That secondary is vulnerable as we just talked about. So he's a guy that I'm starting all formats, all my fantasy teams if I have him. Another guy that I like, Alvin Kamara.
Yes, I have
first game back.
I have him because he's suspended. His first game back, right? Yeah, I have him.
First game back. And I hope you're starting them because I know the matchup isn't super ideal. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have posed, as significant threats against the run, especially in years past. But I just think in New Orleans, Derek Carr's out with an
Yep.
injury. Jameis Winston is in. You got to lean on the ground game.
For sure.
Then with Jamal Williams on injured reserve, with the only other competition for snaps and rookie Kendre Miller and then Tony Jones, I think Alvin Kamara, he has fresh legs, right? He hasn't played through the first 3 weeks of the season. If you've been stashing him on your bench, if you need another running back play, definitely Alvin Kamara, a guy that I like. And then last but not least, another wide receiver, Joshua Palmer.
Okay.
Of the Los Angeles Chargers. I know that Mike Williams recently tore his ACL, out for the season.
Sucks.
And it sucks. I know there's been a lot of injuries in football this year, but you look at the Chargers, they have one of the more prolific offenses in the NFL. They're scoring a lot of points, they're putting up a bunch of yards, they're moving up and down the field. You have a bona fide number one to take attention away from him. And so Joshua Palmer, a soft matchup against the Raiders this weekend. If you have injuries at wide receiver, definitely consider Joshua Palmer or Tank Dell. And then if you need a running back, if you've been stashing him on your bench, start Alvin Kamara.
Love it, love it. Well, those are Steezy's picks for the week. Make sure you guys lock them in. This has been No Structure Podcast, Structureless Conversations, Episode 3. Thank you, Steezy, for coming on. You know, you guys can find us at the NoStructurePodcast.com, YouTube, Twitter. I think Twitter's No Structure Pod 1, though, if I remember correctly. Of course, you can follow me, ZCamacho90 on Instagram. Same thing on Twitter and also YouTube. Yeah, thank you for coming on, my brother. Appreciate you.
Hey, come on, baby. Let's go, brother.
Let's go.
Appreciate you.